Hey everybody, Darlington Farm here, and this week I got a fun video for y'all. We are going to do some TIG welding off of a Miller Pro 400. This is my machine here. This is a 2019 Miller Pro 400. This is identical to the Miller Pipe Pro, other than it does not have the temperature gauge up here. Other than that, it is the exact same machine. The settings are all going to be the same, and I am going to be using a Miller cordless remote here. This thing is really cool. If you've not seen it, you have a little deal that plugs into the 14 pin here, and then you have your wireless receiver up there, and then you just have a little remote here. It's got a magnet on the back. You can stick it wherever you go. Really handy. I really like using it, and this week I'm going to show you how to TIG weld some tubing, but the same technique applies for pipe or really anything like that. Just TIG welding off of any sort of DC power source like this. This is going to be scratch start or lift arc. Basically the same techniques apply. This machine has lift arc built into it, so you touch your tungsten and you lift off, versus say if you're running like an SA200 or a 300D, you basically scratch along there to initiate your arc, but really same techniques apply. So stay tuned here, I'll show you how it's done. I have not set anything up here. This is exactly how this lives in my truck. So usually I'll leave that Milwaukee saw on top of my leads. I have my stinger, which we will not need. And then I have my ground, which we will go ahead and use here. Now, I have Tweco quick disconnects on all my stuff here. I have Aluma reels on the back of the truck here. So when I get to a job, I can just click the reels, unlock them, and pull them out. I've got 125 feet on each reel, and it lets me get out and get set up quickly, and also break down and get out of there quickly. So this we're gonna go ahead and use. And then I typically carry 2 torches. This is, I believe this is called, usually called like a Boilermaker torch. It's like a number 9 air-cooled torch, but it's got a flex head on it, and it's long enough and heavy enough where you can actually get some decent current through it. This will usually take 150 amps or so, is about as high as I've ever gone with this. You don't want to go crazy long at 150, but it will absolutely take 100 amps all day long. So this is probably the torch we're going to go ahead and use. Now typically I'm welding sanitary tubing, or I am welding Schedule 10. I do a little bit of Schedule 40, but a lot more of the thin wall stuff. So really a torch like this is a lot nicer because you can get it in smaller places, and it's not as heavy as say like a 26 or like a big heavy hitters rig, which I do have, but I don't use very often. So we'll use this torch. And then also I typically roll with a 17 air-cooled torch, similar setup for scratch start, except I will use a big gas body on it. This is like the same 26 style gas lens, and this takes a lot more heat. This will take 150 to 200 amps for short periods if you need it, but I don't use this one as much because it's not as maneuverable because it's a lot bigger. So we'll go ahead and I'll show you how we hook things up to the truck here. All right, so this is how I have my rig set up here. I keep always an argon bottle on this side. I always leave it hooked up to my Aluma reel on top here. Now I've got 125 feet of argon line here. I've got my power and ground here. I've got 125 feet of 2/0 cable on these. The nice thing about these Aluma reels is they're on all the time, and all you have to do is unlock them and spool them out. They're super fast. And we'll go ahead and show you how this works. So you take your scratch start TIG setup here, unwind it. Now, unlike traditional stick welding, you go electrode negative for TIG welding. So I have just air fittings on here. I get the stainless steel ones from McMaster. So I just plug in my gas line here for my argon, and then you just plug in your TIG torch. And this type torch has a gas valve on the head, so you control your argon with the valve on the torch. And then I have, again, like I just leave this bottle in here all the time. And let's see, what do I got in there? I have it set at about 20 cubic feet per hour. So that's a pretty good setup depending on what gas lens, collet body, you know, what kind of stuff you're using there. But for this setup, that is about perfect. And then you got a bigger gas lens on there. You need to go up. It's windy. You need to go up. If you're using smaller, you need to go down. Just, you know, your mileage may vary. And then also your ground is going to hook up to your electrode or your positive lead, and that will go to your work. Now, to recap, your ground gets connected to the positive terminal on your welder. Your TIG torch gets connected to the negative terminal on your welder. I keep my remote set at a handy spot here to where I can grab it right before I light up, or while I am welding, and I can adjust the temperature up and down. I'm gonna go ahead and fire up the welder here and show you how this works. All right, we're gonna go ahead and turn the welder on here, and I'll show you how that works. So once you hit the on button on this, it takes a second for it to actually boot up. Start the motor. Now we're in lift arc TIG mode, and we're using the wireless remote here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on, and you'll see this go from 20 all the way up to 100. Now I leave the welder set at 100, and I leave this typically set at 50. So that way my output is at 100 amps. So if I need more, I have 50% either direction. So if I want to go up to say 60 on the remote, that puts me at 120 amps. Or if I want to go down to 40 on the remote here, that puts me down at 80 amps. So it's really nice if you're, say, like up in a pipe rack or in an odd location like that. You can just go ahead and know what your setting here is translates to what your machine setting is. So I have my welder set at about 70 amps. I have my gas on. I always check that before I light up. Hold it up to your ear like that so you can tell if you have gas going, because the worst thing you can do is have somebody stepping on your argon line and light up and burn a big spot in a pipe, especially like some sanitary tubing. So I got gas flowing. We're gonna go ahead and light up on the part here. So hood down. I'm just gonna go ahead and light up. You rock onto it just like you would if you were lift arcing or running off some other power source, and I'm just being lazy here and walking the cup. And then I'm gonna whip out. And I left a pretty good hole there because I did not back purge the pipe. This is just for demonstration purposes only. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video, and more importantly, I hope you took something away from it. I hope you took away from this that you should not be intimidated by TIG welding. I talked to a lot of guys in the field that really are kind of intimidated by the type of work that I do on stainless steel and the type of work that I do with a TIG torch. Really, it's not that crazy complicated. You just need a DC power source, you need some cables, you need an argon bottle, and you need a scratch start TIG rig that you can either get off eBay or go to your local welding supply place. They can probably hook you up with what you need. You need a source of scrap metal, some argon, and some patience and a willingness to learn. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. Thank you guys for watching.